A pleasant day to each and everyone. We are the Group 3 and for today's agenda, we're going to tackle about the Chapter 4, which is the competitive environment. So in this chapter, we're going to learn or tackle these learning objectives. This, first is to describe the competitive environment of human resource management. Number 2 is to identify three types of strategies and relate each of to human resource management. Number 3 is to discuss human resource strategy formulation and relevant organizational factors. Number 4 is to discuss the processes through which human resource strategy is implemented. And lastly is to discuss how human resource function in organizations can be evaluated. So, sa mga successful businesses, blending is a crucial strategy for them to achieve their missions and goals. So, what is this blending? So, tinutukoy natin dito na blending is yung blending of strategies, operations, and the people itself, yung mga human resource natin. This requires organization to carefully monitor and assess new trends, opportunities, and challenges. Kasi if hindi nila ito monitor, malaki yung chance na mapag-iiwanan sila and they lose the chance to expand their business. Yung pagsulpot ng social media actually is one of the newest trend in the past few years. Maraming skeptical or wala talagang pake, no? Walang pake dito. They didn't grab this opportunity to challenge themselves in a new environment. Napag-iwanan na sila. Kaya napapansin nyo, especially, yung mga wala talagang social media account for their business are still unknown. So, kasi nowadays, di ba, we depend on our phones and gadgets. Everything that we do related talaga siya sa phone natin or sa gadgets that is existing nowadays, yeah. And this is what the business with older manager or management needed to realize, so they won't struggle, so they can strive, they can thrive pa. So our key element in what is happening is how effectively or ineffectively business approach the human resource management from a strategic perspective. Now let's actually dive into our lesson. First is the competitive environment for human resource management. So ang HRM, sila usually nag-ooperate sa business. And they are operating yung mga complicated and yung mga pabago-bagong environment because that is what the business is need, no? That's what business needs to do to face a challenge, di ba? Kaya yung sabi ko kanina, to face challenges and to actually try the new trends. So, social media, gaya nga sinabi ko ulit, is the newest environment. And si HRM or si Human Resource Management ang may trabaho to guide the other sectors to go with the flow doon sa in business environment, no? So recently, HR managers are increasingly adapting a strategic perspective, recognizing the critical links between organizational strategies and HR strategies. So this alignment actually can help the organization, no, to gain a competitive advantage compared sa kanilang mga competitors with the same industry. So the strategic HRM process begins with understanding. You need to understand the organization's purpose, its mission, and the influence of its top management. It culminates with HR managers serving as strategic partners, helping the line managers to achieve their strategic goals. These partnerships adds values to the organization by leveraging human resource to meet objectives and gain a competitive edge. The shift towards strategic HRM has important implications for how HR managers are trained and how HRM courses are designed. So traditionally, yung HR practices is focused on finding kung ano yung pinaka-maganda, ano yung pinaka-effective ways to interview, to select employees, and to manage the compensation and performances. Pero, with a strategic view, there is debate over whether there are universal best practices or if HR practices should be tailored to fit a firm's specific strategic goals. So, punta tayo ngayon dito sa the formal appraisals, no? So, the passage suggests that while some general HR practices, such as formal performance appraisals and systematic selection techniques, are generally better, the specific implementation of these practices should align with the firm's strategic goals. This indicates that there may not be one-size-fits-all solution. The best practices for one organization may not be the best for another. No? Kaya, sa mga businesses, actually, matatakal natin ito mamaya, which is yung sa Macy pati sa Gimbels, which is, yung Macy kasi, they are doing this kind of strategy that Gimbels cannot do it. Kasi, if they do it, there's a big possibility na malulugi sila. Kasi iba yung approach nila compared sa kung ano yung original na approach ng Gimbels. So, it may not be the best practice for them. So, ang ginawa nila, they choose to stay kung ano yung ginagawa nila till now. And, actually, na-appreciate pa rin naman sila ng ibang customers. Pero, yun nga lang, yung practice ng Macy's is much better kaysa dun sa company ng Gimbels. Okay. So, the passage touches on performance management systems, which are categorized into skill-enhancing, motivation-enhancing, and opportunity-enhancing practices. These practices should be implemented in a way that creates a strong HR system, where practices are valid, consistent, fair, and clearly communicate the desired behaviors to employees. This approach helps transform generic knowledge, skills, and abilities into a context specific that needed to improve a firm's performance. The passage acknowledges the complexity and potential frustration in seeking simple answers for the best HR practices, emphasizing that the specific solutions will depend on various organizational characteristics such as strategic goals and top management values. Now, let's proceed naman dito sa 41A, a strategic perspective. So, magsimula tayo sa pag-explain kung ano yung strategy and kung ano yung strategic perspective. We need to remember that firms exist in competitive environment. Kahit pa sabihin nila, gaya nga nung sa CBMEC 2, kapag tinanong mo yung mga organization, yung mga company, businesses, sasabihin nila na wala silang competitor. But no, because they are existing in a competitive environment. There's no such thing as wala kaming competitive, because there are, kahit ano pang gawin mo, there are competition. There are competitors who are trying to attract the same customers. Di ba nga may competition? So yung mga competitors, yung magkakalaban-laban sa business is usually they have the same customers, they have the same segment of customers. Like ang target nila is mga young Gen Zs or millennials kasi working naman sila, or they are selling the same goods or services. For example, dito sa Cotabato City, marami dito ang nagbebenta ng milk tea, di ba? So if same kayo ng binibenta, that's a competition na you are existing in a competitive environment. So each must fight to be successful. How? Actually, you can You can create your own recipes. Kung example is sa milk teas, you can create your own recipe na that is very distinct compared to others and very flavorful. Kasi babalik din yung mga customers if you satisfy them or if you exceed their expectations, di ba? That each firm seeks to earn higher returns for its stockholders than do its competitors. So ito na nga, gaya yung sinabi ko kanina, si Macy's ni Gimbels, example to sa book. So both of Macy's and Gimbels are rival, no? Yung pagitan nila, yung location ng kanilang stores is 2 blocks lang yung pagitan nila. So, si Macy kasi, naka-establish siya ng recognizable brand name. Because they grabbed the opportunity during the Thanksgiving Day parade, no? They grabbed the opportunity. And because of that, mas nagkaroon sila ng competitive advantage compared kay Gimbels. Nagkaroon sila ng stronger customer loyalty, which enabled the company to spend less on advertising. See, if maganda yung approach mo sa customers and they become a loyal to your company, makaka-lessen ka sa advertisement. Why? Kasi magiging kilala ka na ng most of the people. And kasi kung maganda yung approach mo, kung maganda yung service mo, kung nag-exceed yung expectation ng customers mo sa services and products na in-offer mo sa kanila, word of mouth would be applied, and it's very very effective siya for a company. Kasi kasi hindi mo na kailangan na i-convince yung iba, because yung mga naging customers mo is sila na mismo yung magbibigay ng kanilang opinion about your experience sa kanilang store or sa inyong store rather, and occasionally charge more for the product. Kasi meron tayong value to customer pricing. So sa value to customer pricing kasi, you can change, no? You can change or you can set your prices depend kung sa kaya nung mga customers mo. Since yung customers or most customers ng Macy's kasi is parang wala naman silang parang okay lang man sa kanila yung kung magtaas sila ng prices, then sinamantalayin siya ng Macy's, and tinaasan nila yung kanilang prices, which mean that they have gain much greater profits, and because of that magkakaroon din sila ng lower cost, and this allowed Macy's to continue thrive while Gimbel is a name recognizable only to old-time New Yorkers and some film fans. So kapag gaya dun sa case ng Macy and Gimbels, si Macy is nagkaroon siya ng strategy na hindi nakakopy basta-basta ni Gimbels. And if they are unable to copy your strategy, that means that you have gained a sustained competitive advantage. This then is the goal of competitive strategy. So paano nga ba natin magigain yung ganitong klaseng strategy, no, sa ating, or paano natin siya ma-apply sa ating organization? So if a firm can do the following, which is to hire the right people means if you're looking for a chef, then go hire a chef. Don't hire a engineer that can cook. Obviously, train them to be effective. Hindi porket you hire a chef for a cook position doesn't mean that okay na yon, because you need to actually train them, no? You need to train them kung ano yung culture na meron sa organization nyo, and kung ano yung mga niluluto nyo doon sa inyong organization. For example, resto, di ba? You need to train them kung paano lutuin yung mga specific foods na nasa menu nyo or yung mga drinks, di ba? In order for them to do a good job. Number 3 is to place them in the right jobs. Of course, you need to hire the right people, right? So, if you hire a cook, tapos, puno na pala yung kitchen mo, you must not, you must not put that person na gawin mo siyang waitress. Kasi, yung potential niya, hindi niya magagamit. Hindi mo magagamit yung full potential niya sa iyong organization. Parang waste of, lang siya yun, naging waste of resource lang ang nangyari. Then, fourth is to motivate them to work hard. How? How do we do this? By simply giving them the right salary they deserve. And to throw some bonuses. And lastly is to retain them. So this strategy, yung mga nabanggit natin, can gain sustained competitive advantage compared sa ating competitors. These employees will work efficiently and effectively, and if they're managed so that they could also work toward the organization's strategic goal, the firm can reduce cost, increase quality, or develop innovative solutions to business problems. So, ang way lang talaga ng competitors mo to copy this is nakawin niya yung mga employees mo. But still, that's not enough actually. Kasi di ba nga, sabi natin kanina, is you need to train them effectively. You need to train them effectively para makakope sila sa culture or sa organization mo, kung ano yung mga nakasanayan or kung ano yung mga hindi dapat or yung mga dapat na gawin. Okay, now let's proceed to 4.1b, which is the influence of organizational purpose and mission. So an organization purpose and mission are among the most fundamental contextual forces that define the strategic context of HRM. An organization purpose is its basic reason for existence. Kung ano nga ba yung pinagmulan, ano nga ba yung idea kung bakit nag-start yung ganitong organization. So, an organization's mission is how its managers have decided to fulfill its purpose. A mission statement specifies how the organization intends to manage itself so that it can pursue fulfillment of its purpose most effectively.
The top management team of an organization typically includes senior executives such as the chairperson of the board, the CEO, COO, president, and senior vice president for major functions like marketing, finance, and human resource management. This team is crucial in setting the organization's strategic direction and culture. Effective top managers have a clear vision and communicate it well, guiding middle and lower level managers to align with organizational goals. However, not all top managers succeed. Some may send conflicting message or could promote harm. The influence of top management can be constrained by industry conditions, organizational structures, and individual limitations. This phenomenon, known as managerial discretions, affects how much top managers can shape their organization's success. Stockholders are the true owners of a corporation, but typically do not manage its daily operations, which is the responsibility of the CEO and top management team. This separation can lead to an agency problem where the interests of stockholders who seek to maximize the firm's value and are willing to accept risk may conflict with those of managers who are more risk-averse due to their lack of investment diversification. Boards typically have 10 to 15 members. Some are members of the top management team, while others are major stakeholders, and still others might be prominent members of the community. To align with management's action with stockholders' interests, board of directors are established to oversee and monitor management. However, board effectiveness varies, and some have been criticized for insufficient oversight. This has led to increased government involvement, but the effectiveness of such intervention is debated. Issues of corporate governance and managerial discretion are explored further in contemporary discussion MHR.
So now we'll move on to corporate business and functional strategies. Top managers are responsible for strategic operations in their firms, which involves developing and implementing effective strategies at corporate business and functional levels, including the HR, of course. They also provide ongoing oversight and strategic leadership, ensuring that functional strategies align with the support corporate strategies. So, what are these strategies? We have the corporate strategy, business strategy, and the functional strategy. Corporate strategy deals with determining what the business or the firm will operate. It usually focuses on the bigger picture and the long-term vision of the business, such that its growth or expansion, its mergers and acquisition, and its investment decision. While business strategy deals with how the firm will compete in each market where it conducts the business. Simply, the strategy that deals with the business how the business will effectively compete in a particular market or industry. It also deals with how to gain competitive advantage in the market, considering satisfying their customer needs while maximizing their profit at the same time. While functional strategy deals with how the firm will manage each of its major functions, such that marketing, finance, and HR. So, functional strategy simply means or it pertains to particular functional area in order to achieve the set business objectives. These several broad strategies are growth strategies, retrenchment or turnaround strategy, stability strategy, as well as the diversification strategy. On growth strategies is that when a business has identified a unique niche and it's successfully and aggressively expanding within that particular market niche, it is pursuing what is known as the growth strategy. As the term suggests, a growth strategy focuses on the growth and expansion of the business. Example is that when the business utilizes the strategy is the Starbucks. So, this business continues its geographic and brand expansion through opening different branches anywhere in the world. However, this growth strategies also has its disadvantages or downside. It is the struggle for the HR managers to recruit and train numerous amounts of qualified employees to help in growing operations of the business. So, in this scenario, before the top management decides to pursue this growth strategy or this known growth strategy, they still need to account if the HRM team is capable to attract and train a large amount of employees. So, additionally, a growth strategy can be pursued externally through mergers, joint venture, and acquisition of the businesses. However, the challenge to this is that the HR managers is to determine how they will merge these two existing workforce into a single, cohesive, and integrated unit. So, dito na papasok yung selection ng magsistay sa company or kung sino yung malilay off. Similarly, it is likely that the two firms will be using different HR philosophies for issues such that training practices, promotion policies, and so forth. Retrenchment or turnaround strategy, which occurs when an organization finds that its current operations are not effective. Organizations go through a period of downsizing or right sizing, as some managers prefer to call it. In an effort to get back on the right track, they close operations, shut down factories, terminate employees, and reduce their workforce. Their ultimate goal is to use the resources generated as a result of these steps and reinvest them into other more promising products and promising products in the market. Example of retrenchment or turnaround strategy is when a business is facing a decline in the market or when a technology becomes obsolete. So the business tend to downsize, which is an emergency measure during times of economic hardship, or they utilize the right sizing, which is less about measuring cost and more focused on meeting new business objectives. So, in this case, when the management go through a period of downsizing or right sizing, they tend to close operations or shut down their operations, terminate employees, and reduce their workforce. While stability strategy, it is a single market strategy that aims to maintain the status quo and protect the organizations from environmental threats. It is often used after retrenchment or rapid growth. The HR managers play a crucial role in retaining employees in this strategy, especially when the company offers limited advancement opportunities or salary increases. This strategy is often adopted after periods of rapid growth. When a company adopts stability strategy, it means that they plans to stay in its current business operations and intends to manage them as they are already being managed. Lastly, of this corporate strategy is the diversification strategy. A diversification strategy is another widely used approach to corporate strategy. A corporation that uses this diversification strategy usually makes the decision to own and operate several different businesses. Also, the various businesses owned by a corporation are usually related to one another in some way. A strategy is called related diversification. Sometimes, an organization decides to expand into products or markets that are unrelated to its current products and markets. This approach is called unrelated diversification. On a single specific market, businesses or companies utilize this diversification strategy, wherein we have related diversification as well as the unrelated diversification. Related diversification is diversifying in businesses in the same industry. So, example nito is the Volkswagen acquiring the Audi. So, if some of you isn't familiar with the Volkswagen, it is a group of company which manufactures automobiles. Meanwhile, unrelated diversification is diversifying into new industries. So, a firm pursues this strategy in an attempt to operate several unique businesses in a different unrelated markets. Example is the General Electric. Ways that they engage in unrelated diversification strategy. Simply because to shield the company from the adverse effects of the business cycles, unexpected competition, as well as the occurrence of economic fluctuations.
Business strategy and human resource management. So, the adaptation level, this model suggests that the best way to succeed in business is to align your strategy with the conditions of its environment. So, it is the right strategy for one environment might not work for another. So, the adoption level model identifies three basic alternatives that can be used to match different environments in a company. So first we have the defender strategy. So this is best suited for stable, low risk environments. Um, these companies they might not be looking for new opportunities, but they are very good at what they do. So they are efficient and reliable. They know their customers well and focus on delivering high quality products or services. Next is we have prospector strategy. So prospector strategy is this is for companies operating in dynamic and uncertain environments. So they always on the lookout for new opportunities, new technologies, and new markets, and they are willing to take risks and to adapt quickly to change. They are innovative, agile, and they are not afraid to experiment. Next is we have analyzer strategy. So analyzer strategy is a hybrid approach that combines elements on both defender and prospector strategies. So they focus on maintaining their core business while also exploring to new opportunities. So they are cautious but still innovative. They are good at balancing stability and growth. Next is the reactor. So reactor is essentially a strategic failure. It's a company that either ignores its environment or reacts to it in inappropriate way. So they are often uh, off guard by changes in the market and struggle to keep up. They lack a clear strategy and often make reactive decisions that don't address the underlying issues. Next is the other competitive strategies. So the other dominant approach to business level strategies identifies three specific competitive strategies. So first strategy, we have differentiation strategy. So this is where a company aims to create a unique image or reputation for its product or service. So they might focus on quality, design, customer service, and any other factor that sets them apart from the competition. So, an example of this is the luxury brands like Rolex and Apple. So, they are not the cheapest option, but they build a strong brand identity that commands a premium price. Next strategy is the cost leadership strategy. So, this is where a company focuses on minimizing the cost of the offer of lowest price in the market. So this can be achieved through efficient production, distribution, and product design. So an example of this is companies like Walmart or Southwest Airlines. So they build their success on offering low prices and high volume. The final strategy is focus strategy. So, this is where a company targets a specific market segment, like a particular geographic area or customer group. So, they can be either differentiate or cost lead within that segment. So, an example of focus strategy is a local bakery which specializes gluten-free pastries. So they focusing on specific niche market and offer a unique product.
So, my topic is functional strategies in business. Functional strategies in business are specific plans developed to achieve particular objective within various department or functional of an organization. These strategies are designed to support the borders corporate strategies by focusing on operational areas like marketing, finance, and human resource. Human resource Human resource management is a key functional area that play a vital role in supporting and implement functional strategies. How how HRM ally with functional strategies, talent, acquisition, and management. HRM ensure the organization attract recruits and retain talents that ally with functional strategies. For instance, if an company strategies emphasize innovation, HRM might focus on recruiting employees with strong creative and technical skills, training and development. HRM develop training program that enhance employees' skills in line with departmental goals. For example, if the functional strategies required to improve customer service, HRM will be implement training programs to develop employees, customers, interaction, skills performance, management. HRM establish performance matrix and appraisal system that aligns with the functional objectives. That this ensure employees' performance, support development and organizational goals, compensation and benefits. HRM design compensation and benefits package that motivate and retain employees while aligning within the company strategy. For example, if the company aims to become a market leader, HRM might be offer competitive salaries and performance, business, organizational, cultural, and structure. HRM helps shape the organizational support functional strategies. Then base the project might foster and collaborate culture and creative team-oriented structures. Compliance and risk management. HRM ensure that the organization practice compile with legal requirements and mitigate risk in the cural for maintaining smooth operation and avoiding disruption that could affect functional strategies. Equation and summary. HRM plays the crucial role in planning and support functional strategies by managing the human capital effective and aligning HR practice with organizational goals.
Today, I'll be discussing the topic of human resource strategy formulation. First is staffing strategy. Staffing involves determining the future HR needs, recruiting qualified candidates, and selecting the best people to join the company. Now, how does this align with the organization overall strategy? Well, depends on what the company is aiming to achieve. If the company is pursuing a growth strategy, it needs to recruit aggressively. This means bring in a large number of qualified employees to support its expansion goals. On the other hand, if the company is in a retrenchment phase, meaning it's cutting back or downsizing, the focus shifts. And the key is to retain essential employees and manage termination effectively. Next, we have the employees development strategy. This strategy is all about improving the quality of human resources through the performance management, training, and career planning. For a company pursuing a differentiation strategy, which focuses on producing high-quality products or services, there's need for significant investment in employee training. This ensures that the employee are capable of maintaining the high standard required. If the company is focused on cost leadership, meaning it wants to be the lowest cost producer, the training approach will be different, and the emphasis will be on efficiency and productivity, training employees to do their jobs faster and more cost effectively. Lastly, compensation strategy, which includes everything related to how employees are paid and rewarded. This could be through basic compensation, performance-based incentives, or employee benefits. The compensation strategy must align with the company's overall goals. First is the system should be flexible enough to allow employees to move across different areas of the business, especially in firms where such movement is necessary. In the case of a company with unrelated diversification where it operates in various distinct industries, the compensation strategy might focus on depth of expertise. This means paying a premium salary to highly skilled experts who are critical to specific business areas rather than expecting them to be versatile across different businesses.
So, the impact of organization design. In a functional or U-form organization, a company is divided into basic departments like marketing, finance, and operations. So, since these departments are separate, senior management needs to coordinate their work to make sure everything runs smoothly. Usually, there's only one HR department that handles all HR tasks for the whole company. In a conglomerate design or H form, a company owns several businesses that are very different from each other. Each business operates independently and has a lot of freedom. Domain acts like a holding company, coordinating activities across its business. While each business has its own HR department, there is also a corporate level team that oversees and connects everything, ensuring the company's overall strategy is followed. In a individual or M-form organization, a company is divided into different divisions, each focused on a specific business area. These divisions handles most of their own HR tasks, making them somewhat independent. However, the central HR department at the corporate level helps create synergies by coordinating and sharing resources across these divisions. This structure is commonly used by companies in related industries like US based oil companies because it allows for better collaboration and efficiency across the business. So, the differences between the three organizational structures is that the U form or the unitary form is structured by function with departments like marketing, finance, and operations that are centrally coordinated by senior management. The H form or holding form consists of a group or unrelated businesses, each managed independently, while the holding company provides financial and strategic oversight. The M form, or the multidivisional form, divides the organization into semi-autonomous division based on products, services, or regions, allowing each division to operate independently with its own functional departments, while the corporate headquarters focuses on overall strategy and resources allocation. So, regardless of the specific design, many firms are shifting to flat organizations, which means they reduce the number of management levels to become more flexible and team oriented. This setup allows for a quicker decision making and better adaptability. In these organizations, HR tasks are spread out with managers taking on small teams to handle basic HR services and offering advice as needed.
For 3D, or the impact of corporate culture. The culture of an organization significantly influences its HR strategy, shaping its values and guiding its members' understanding of the organization values and actions. Although complex and amorphous, culture is the foundation of an organization internal environment, shaping managerial behavior and managing its human resources effectively. There is no such things as an ideal culture, or an organization should have strong and well articulated culture that explain its values and behavior rather. The HR department plays a crucial role in beginning, where new employees learn about culture through orientation and corporate history. Current employees can communicate culture through training, consistent behavior, and other organizational activities. So, it means that culture shapes every employee engagement, their productivity, talent management, innovation, customers' interactions, strategic alignment, and change, adaptation, and brand reputation, of all which are crucial for a company's success. So there's also their culture influences how employees interact with customers, affecting customer satisfaction and relationship. Um, Culture promotes collaboration and innovation to enhance productivity and performance, while negative cultures can lead to disengagement. The founder of organizations significantly influences its culture, often leaving a lasting impact. So, organizations with visionary founders often to maintain a strong cultural identity. HR managers may find corporate culture um, can either facilitate or hinder their work. A well understood, attractive culture can make it easier to recruit qualified applicants. So, a positive culture boosts a job satisfaction and reduces turnover by making employees feel valued and aligned with the company's values. So, a strong culture attracts top talent and helps retain employees by creating supportive work and environment. Cultures that encourage innovation, creativity, and risk taking drive innovation and improvement in business. So, cultures that embrace flexibility and learning to facilitate smoother transition during organizational changes. So, they also promote their brand reputation to impacts of their company, brand identity, and public perceptions, contributing to its overall reputation.
So the second is the impact of unionization. Unionization can have significant impacts on the various aspects of an organization in the employees. Here are the some key effects. Employees' benefits and protections improve the working conditions, including safer workplace and more comprehensive health and safety measures. Higher wage. Unionized employees typically receive high wage and compared to their non-union counterparts due to the collective bargaining. Job security, protection against unfair dismissal. Union provide greater job securities by advocating for fair dismissal procedure and protection against arbitrary layoffs. Working hour and working life balance. Regulated hours union often negotiate for regulated working hour, overtime pay, and improve work-life balance. Collective bargaining power negotiation strength. Union provide workers with a stronger collective voice, enhance their ability to negotiate terms and conditions of employments with management. And employees relation potential for conflict. Unionization can sometimes lead to increased conflict between management and employees, particularly during the negotiations of strikes. Communication channels. Union often create formal channels for communication between worker and management, which can improve overall workplace dialogue, organization performance, productivity impact. The impact of productivity can vary. While some studies suggestion unions might lead to increased productivity through better morale and less turnover, others indicate that they can lead to the inefficiencies due to rigid works rules and high labor costs. Management practice adaptation, adapt and practice policies and approach the ally with union agreements and agrees union related issues. Legal and regularity com- compliance enhance the compliance union to help ensure the labor laws and regulation and adhered to which can reduce the risk of legal disputes and penalties. Overall, the impact of the unionization can be depending the industries that specific union and the existing organization culture. While a unionization often lead the better comprehension and job security for employees, it can also introduce new challenge and required adjustment from both management and workers. Thank you.
So hi everyone, I am Baina Jumafuan. I will be talking about interpersonal processes and strategy implementation. So first, what is interpersonal processes in the workplace? Interpersonal processes are the different way we connect and interact with other people in our daily life. Interpersonal processes are crucial in a firm because they influence how employees work together, communicate, and achieve the company's goal. Dito makikita paano tayo nakikipag-usap or nakikinig sa iba, paano nasosolve ang disagreement or misunderstanding, paano tayo nakikipagtulungan. So, the psychological contact in the context of interpersonal processes refers to the unspoken, informal agreements and expectations between individuals in a workplace, especially between employees and employers. May mga expectation ng employee like them getting paid fairly, having job securities and getting chances for promotion. And in other side, employers have this expectation that the employee will work hard and stay loyal. So when both sides meet this expectation, employees are most likely to work well and help the company succeed. So yun ang tinatawag natin na psychological contract. So first, you have here personality traits and attitude. Each person has unique traits like confident and detail-oriented. Each HR manager determine the best way to measure these traits and verify their relationship with job performance. So second, attitude. How employees feel about their work is also important. If they have a positive attitude, they're more likely to be committed to the company's goal. Negative attitude can lead to problems like missing work or quitting. So HR manager often use surveys to understand the employee attitude and work on improving them. So third, motivation. Motivation is about what drives employees to work hard and perform well. So, ang outcome kapag motivated ang mga employee is mas maganda ang kanilang performance, mas masaya sila sa trabaho, at mas magkakaroon sila ng magandang idea. So, this company try to keep employees motivated by offering rewards, recognition, and chances to grow and create positive work environment. Yung ibang company nag-offer sila ng commission sa employee para ganahan sila magtrabaho, o yung iba, pwede rin salary increase if na-recognize ng company ang trabaho na ginawa ng employee. So in short, motivated employees are key to company success. And then next, stress. Stress is the pressure employees feel when demand at work are too high. So when someone's stressed at work, they may feel tired, anxious, or frustrated, and this can affect their ability to do their job. So to manage stress, it's important for both the employee and the company to recognize the causes and find way to reduce or cope with it. So, yung iba kasi may tendency sila na dalhin sa bahay or outside their work yung trabaho nila, which can cause stress sa part ng employee dahil nawawalan sila ng work-life balance. Kapag nasobrahan sa stress, may possibility na umalis ang employee sa kanilang trabaho kasi hindi nila nakaya. So, next, leadership. Good leadership is crucial for a company's success, but it's not always clear what makes someone a good leader. So HR manager look for leadership qualities in employees and work on developing these qualities to help the company achieve its goal. So paano ba natin masabi na may characteristic siya na good leadership or good leader? A good leader helps employee understand what needs to be done, support them in their work. Ang leader ay dapat siya yung nagsiset ng positive example sa team niya. So kapag nakikinig ba si leaders sa mga member or nakikita ba ng team na marunong siya sa ginagawa niya. So in short, leadership is about helping a team work together effectively and making sure everyone is on the right path to success. A strong leader can make big difference in how a team performs and how happy employees feel at work. So all these elements, how people interact, their expectation, attitudes, motivation, stress, and leadership are key to making sure a company runs smoothly and successfully.
In the recent years, organizations have increasingly focused on evaluating the effectiveness of their HR function. Historically, HRM was seen as an expense, with the HR manager staying within the budget and employees generally satisfied. However, many organizations are now more concerned with both the costs and benefits of HRM for two seemingly contradictory reasons. Many organizations are recognizing effective HRM as a competitive advantage source, focusing on its potential benefits and analyzing costs to determine which functions should be outsourced. Functions that add value are likely to be outsourced, while those that provide competitive advantage are likely to be retained. The organization allocation of resources to manage these functions determine whether where the firm derives its competitive advantage. Line managers can choose between the corporation's HR department or outside their vendor for HRM help. Traditionally, organizations use indirect measures like high turnover or absenteeism to assess HRM effectiveness. However, more sophisticated utility analysis methods allow organizations to value the contribution of HRM practices and consider costs, allowing for more accurate evaluation of HRM effectiveness. The evaluation of HR activities has shifted from assessing individual HR functions to examining the relationship between HRM practices and organizational performance. This approach considers factors like profitability, stock prices, and productivity. Despite differences in specific practices, evidences suggests that organizations adopting more enlightened HRM practices perform better than others, despite concerns about measurement effectiveness.